originally from Nigeria, West Africa, but and in Nigeria I was a French teacher, and it was tough to teach other languages because every child had about 4 languages already. But I resorted to storytelling, and it worked like magic. Well, I saw that video, and the ladies talking about having 2 kids and being crazy. But I had 6 kids. At times, I sit down since I got to Canada. I say, how did I do that? There were many people in the community who would come to help you. In addition to having paid maids, you have your mother-in-law, your own mother, your auntie, everybody's hand was on deck. So it was easy as at then. And we don't focus on the difficulties of the children, but on us, the joy of being a mother. The mothers in Nigeria or in some parts of Africa have names. Some names of children have translations like this. Mother is supreme. Mother is above all jewelries. Mother is above everybody. Mother is like a chief, and so on. That, and a musician in the 80s sang a song titled Sweet Mother. It is still evergreen till today. And the musician recounted everything from cradle until he grew up like that the mother did. So mothers are very, very special. And what do they do to raise the kids? They use the performing arts, which I use today, in many ways, especially storytelling. My mother used to tell me lots of stories. My mother, my grandmother, my aunties, they told lots of stories. And these stories, they help you in speech, in talking in public, in crafting creativity, in your schoolwork. It helps you in different ways. I don't have time to really analyze it today. And not only that, when there are things that go wrong in the community, we resort to stories. And mothers are always asked to tell stories to resolve things like that. And then for the values that bind people together in a healthy community, storytelling is number 1 to do that. So the story, I will tell you a very short story titled The 7 Days Story, in not 8 minutes any longer, maybe in 5 minutes. So this story my mother told me helped me in counting and subtracting and doing so much. And then it also taught me a lesson that you don't, since I got here, when I tell the children the story, they say, don't judge a book by its cover. We don't judge people when we see them. So my mother was a very good storyteller. And with the stories I found here, like Cinderella and co, you have fairy godmother. For us, it's always the mother or the grandmother who died. The spirit came to save you from any difficult situation. So mother is very important, especially in the older age. The whole community, they really respect mothers. But when you are newly married, the man doesn't do that. But when you are older, yes. Okay, so now I'm going to tell this story. Please, wherever you feel comfortable, just chip in anything you want to say. When you are, if you laugh, laugh. But you have to control the laughter sometime because we have no time. The story again is titled The 7 Days Story. And please, if I say to you answer here, bo. Can you just say that? Here, bo. To here, bo. The 7 Days Story. A long time ago, there was a king who had a beautiful daughter called Ewa. And she wanted to get married to many young men who came to ask for her hand, but she had the difficulty of choice. She didn't know who to choose from among them. So the father decided to help the daughter. He went into a type of retreat and came back and said, "My daughter, you know how I love to listen to stories. Whoever can entertain me with a story that will last for 7 days and 7 nights will have your hand in marriage." So he sent his town crier to go to town. Wade, wade, wade. He went, he asked the young men to come to his palace. So when they came, he told them, "If you can entertain me with a story that will last for 7 days and 7 nights, you will marry my daughter, Ewa." Oh, the young man said, "That's a piece of banana. Who cannot tell stories?" So the king said, "Go and come back." So on the 7th day again, the young men assembled. They all told. The princes told long and boring tales of life in the palace. The merchants told stories. The wrestlers, the dancers, many young men told, but none of them told a story that lasted even half a day. So they had to beg and bribe the king so that he won't put them in jail. When it was apparent that there was nobody who could pass the test, one young man in the village, whom everybody knew as a raggedy young man, put up his hand and said, "I will tell." Everybody looked back to him, and then they started laughing at him. Can we just laugh briefly? They said, "How dare you want to marry the princess? You, this raggedy man." The king said, "Let him try." The young man came and started his story. He said, "A long time ago, Your Majesty, there were farmers who planted corn. When it was time for doing the gathering in, they were singing and drumming and doing their gathering until somebody saw that locusts were descending. They hurried, but before they did anything, the locusts descended and finished all their corn. And that year, there was a lot of famine, and people were unhappy. But the following year, they got wise. They built a granary, a storage, and then they did the gathering in and quickly put it in the storage. The locusts again came down, and they knew there was something in the granary, and they started flying round and round it until one tiny locust saw a little hole, squeezed itself in, took a grain of corn, and flew away. This was followed by another locust who squeezed itself in, took a grain of corn, and flew away. Yet another locust came, intact, took a grain of corn, flew away. Then another locust came, took a grain of corn, flew away. And then this followed by another locust who took a grain of corn and flew away. Yet another. Okay. The king clapped his hand and said, "Excuse me, what happened after that?" "After that, Your Majesty, another locust came in, took a grain of corn, flew away. Yet another locust." Soon everybody was dozing and sleeping because of the monotony. And the king woke up and said, "Enough, go. Tomorrow, come back." So the following day, the young man again started, "Yes, Your Majesty and my village people, the one locust is just squeezing itself in. How it succeeded in taking the corn. It's flying away. And another locust is trying to get in." And the king said, "Excuse me, young man. Don't disturb us here or don't waste our time. Will you tell us what happened?" "What happened, Your Majesty," said the young man, "was that there were millions of locusts and millions of grains, but there was just one tiny hole, so they had to take it in turn. In fact, the locusts are milling around that hole. One has just succeeded in going in, taking a grain of corn, and is flying away. Yet another one has taken a grain of corn, is flying away. Then another one. Then the king again stopped him. He came on the 3rd day. He continued, Your Majesty, one big locust couldn't get in. It fell. Another quickly went in, took a grain of corn, spread its wings, and flew away. The king said, tell us the end of that story right now. Your Majesty, to tell you the end of a story right in the middle of it will spoil a good story. So the villagers clapped for the young man. Can you clap? Aha! The king now saw that the young man was popular. He resorted to begging. Do you think that at the end of 7 days, the locusts will finish that granary, the grains in the granary? I don't know the math, Your Majesty. All I know is that there were millions of grains, millions of locusts, one tiny hole, and one little locust has just entered, taking a grain of corn, and is flying away. This followed yet by another locust. Enough, said the king. I've heard enough. Thank you. You are a very smart young man. I will give you the hand of my daughter, Ewa, in marriage. May you prosper in your wisdom and understanding of the whole community. This is a young man we all looked down upon. Now sound the royal drums, because we are going to celebrate the wedding of my beautiful daughter, Ewa, and this very smart young man. So they sounded the drum. Just clap with me. That's it. Clap with me as I drum. Thank you. That's the end of the now used to tell me that story, and I would sleep on it and wake up. Or when she wanted me to do chores for her, because in the village, the kitchen is outside the main house. You have to run in and bring salt, run in and bring other things to cook in the kitchen. For me to go there, as a little girl, she would say, one time she would describe the legs and hands of the locust and things, and I would run and say, what happened next? And she continued. Thank you very much.